everybody. We are live and we have Carmen. I know it's a little different setting, but we have Carmen on this Thursday, September 5th, which happens to be one of my favorite days of the year. So, yay, Carmen, you're sharing today with me.
Yes, happy birthday.
Thank you. All right. So, this is our second live. Technically, it's our second time going live together. Our first time, hopefully, I don't touch anything and stop the live, because the last time literally we went live for like a minute and a half. And that was it. But we sat here talking for 40 minutes as if we were alive.
That's right.
So take two. So for anybody who doesn't know, or if this is your first time listening, we only know you're here if you comment. So if you want to make a comment, say hello, give us your name, where you're at. And if you want to just listen and be a fly on the wall, that's okay too. And Carmen is a phenomenal real estate agent. She's a phenomenal team leader. She's a phenomenal leader and human. Lives in Colorado Springs. So, Carmen, say a little bit about yourself.
Thanks, Tanya. The feeling's mutual. So
thank you.
Yeah. So I've known Tanya. How long have we known each other?
Oh my gosh, I want to say 5, 6 years, 6, 7 years. I mean, many years.
Yeah. At least. So I had the privilege of having Tanya as my coach. I've been in real estate since 2003, and here in the Pikes Peak region. And I have a team now. I've been working on the journey for a team for a while, and Tanya, bless you, helped me through so much of that journey. It's been wonderful. So yeah, just excited to be here and meet you today.
Thanks. So I'm gonna say hi, Rachel. Thank you, Rachel. Hi, Rachel's in Washington State.
Hi, Rachel.
Carmen, you've had a very interesting journey. You know, so I'm gonna ask you a question. I don't know if you I didn't ask you this last time. You and I met. You were a phenomenal real estate agent. You were pretty much Carmen Molitor, and then you're like, okay, Tanya, I want to start growing a team. What came into your brain saying, okay, I want to have a team?
Say that again. What was the question?
Yeah, what was your thought process around, okay, now I want to have a team? Because you were very successful at real estate prior to having a team, so why rock the boat?
Yeah. Well, because partly your direction and guidance there, of course.
You say it so nicely. It wasn't like a kick in the ass or anything like that.
That's right. You know, in our industry, we have we're the only industry that I know of that thinks that we can do sales and operations both. Most companies have a separate sales department and a separate operations department, and in real estate, for some reason, we think we don't need two separate departments, right?
Yeah.
And so, you know, you've seen several clients that you've coached in real estate go through this, where you work like crazy to create the leads, bring the leads in, and you're really busy bringing the leads in, and then they come in, and then you get really busy working the leads. And then when you're done working the leads, you look up and you're like, dang, I don't have any leads in the pipeline because I've been busy transacting. So then you get back to generating leads, right? And so it's this roller coaster of work. Well, you never get a break, right? You're always working, and then it's a roller coaster in terms of your income, right? Because of this, the way that the rhythm of that, and you know, it's draining. You're on call 24/7, and you can't go on vacation or anything. And so, really wanted to create a better life for myself and my family. And then, speaking of my family, my son asked to join me in the. And so that was really the catalyst. So that's awesome. He's been a realtor on my team for 10 years now. And so I wanted it to be better for them. And so that's really the reason for the team, is to be able to have people to share the load. And you guys, and you coach lots of realtors. It's kind of lonely out there as a single. So it's nice.
There are gazillion realtors, right? They're everywhere. Yet it is being a CEO, and I know it doesn't matter what business you're in, being a CEO is lonely.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
So yes, and so out of curiosity, is Emerson anywhere around? Like
he's not.
Welcome to hop on. Well, darn it.
Yeah.
Because again, another phenomenal real estate agent.
Yeah.
On your team.
Yeah. Very proud of him and my whole team. I'm very blessed. I have 3 full-time agents on the team and 2 full-time, I hate referring to them as administrative assistants because they're way more than that. And really, for the most part, they're both full-time marketing folks for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And transaction coordinator too, right?
So no, so I pay. We have a transaction coordinator in our office,
Okay.
properties, and so I pay her a fee for each transaction. I used to have a transaction coordinator, and that changed, and so now her official title is a listing coordinator, but it's listings and all of other things, all the duties assigned, right? But when I really look at what both Merritt and Jesse, my 2 administrative assistant folks do. So she's the listing coordinator and Jesse's the marketing manager. When I really look at their duties, I would say that they're pretty much dedicated full time, both of them, to doing marketing.
Right.
And so if you would have said to me, Carmen, you're going to have 2 full-time employees doing nothing but marketing, if you would have said that even a year ago, I'd have been like, you're crazy. I don't have the budget for that. But I can't afford not to. I think about how busy they are and the impact they're having on our overall team's success and how it's helping our agents to be able to focus on what they need to do, their core responsibilities. Organizations have core values. Well, we have core values as well, but we also have core duties, core responsibilities, core things that we should be focusing on to get really, really good at them. And that's the other, I think, challenge I think we see in our industry is we're supposed to be the jack of all trades, right? Got to be good at everything. Well, nobody's good at everything.
No, and Carmen, I sincerely love you, and marketing and creating videos is not your superpower, right?
Right. Yeah.
Nor is it mine,
Right. Yeah.
So I know my superpower is coaching, and marketing is not one of them. And so slowly I've been budgeting somebody to help me, and I just hired somebody to help me with my videos. And I do need to talk to Jesse because I'm like, I need some help because it is not, I'm going to have the same thing, roller coaster ride in real estate, like you had mentioned earlier. If we're not always spending time, 3-4 times days a week working on growing our business, it's going to stop when we get slow, and then we pick it back up again. And I have found, because I always learn my lessons the hard way. It's how I'm hardwired. That is the same in my business. It's Tanya, you've got to be out there marketing. You've got to be out there generating leads. And when I'm super busy in coaching and being grandma, all of a sudden I'll go, oh, I didn't onboard anybody new this month. Yeah. So we all know that roller coaster ride. And so I've got a question, and I know in your, in the coaching company that I used to work for that you hired me in, they do personality assessments, right? And I know in your heritage profile at Buffini, you are global.
Yes.
And I say that out loud because Rachel's listening, and Rachel is global, and she's in my group coaching program right now.
Nice.
How do you manage that?
Global person.
Globals. We got 2 globals. Yes, I am not global. I am spectrum, so I can zoom in and out. You see, the big picture at the end of the tunnel. How do you manage now needing to see what you need to do today? Because that is, again, your superpower is seeing the big picture, and it can be kryptonite to see what to do today.
Well, so I think you and I've had this conversation over the years before, is how am I so detail oriented as a global person? And I had to learn those skills, right? So I had to have people. I
remember coaching you through those skills.
Exactly. Yep. I had to learn those skills, and I had wonderful people like you to help me learn those skills. And more importantly, hiring the right people that have those skills, that are detail oriented, to help them keep me on track. Right. Knowing where your weaknesses are, and then finding the people to help you overcome those weaknesses, because that's their strengths, right? So having a balanced team there.
And obviously having somebody help you with accountability is a big thing, and seeing you and helping you see different perspectives, because your perspective is very, very wide, and sometimes we need to zoom it in. And I need that too. Even though I'm spectrum and I can zoom in and out, there are times I find myself very, very specific. So my default must be specific when I'm stressed or overwhelmed, because then I get into specifics and don't see the big picture. So I have a coach that helps me with that.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, big stuff. Okay, so I know you just treated your team to something super spectacular. So my question is, how do you build team camaraderie? How do you motivate your team? Because I know it is one of your superpowers, how well you treat your team members.
Well, thank you. I had really good um, examples in my corporate experience before I started real estate. I was in the corporate world and was a call center manager right out of college, had 60 direct reports. Boom, here you go, good luck. And then they moved me into manufacturing, and then I had my own department, and then I had my own actual unit, my own business, if you will, within the corporation. And then I went into HR with Ford, and so I've had a lot of experience, and that helped me and served me well. And you know, having a great coach like you, and gosh, just filling yourself with as much good stuff as you can, right?
Yeah.
So reading, listening to podcasts, going to events like the one I treated my team to, right? And then don't just go to that event and leave it. So we actually are having a lot of fun as a team, and we're doing weekly meetings, if you will, sessions, and each person is taking turns on the team leading.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we're focusing on a particular section of the event that we went to that resonated most with them, and then doing a session with the whole team to reinforce our learning. And we try to start
Nice.
our every meeting now with kind of something like that we all walked away with from that event. So those kinds of things, but definitely having a coach to help you say, you might be too heavy-handed here, or you might not be heavy enough, right, is definitely helpful.
So did your team really enjoy the mastermind that you treated them to?
Yeah, yeah, we
Yeah,
did. Everybody did. Yeah,
good.
yeah.
What was one of your one or two major takeaways?
I think for the whole team, the coffee bean um, story and book was probably the most uh, powerful. The gentleman who lost his eyesight when he was in middle school and has climbed Mount Everest and others, that was pretty powerful too. But I think what we liked about the coffee bean is the story behind that, and that is, if you put a carrot into a pot of boiling water, it's going to get soft and not be as good as it was before you boiled it. And if you put an egg in there, it's going to get hard, so your heart could get harder, right? But if you put a coffee bean in a pot of boiling water, then you change the water. And so the
Right.
message was, be the coffee bean, change your environment. If your environment isn't what you want it to be, then be the positive influence to change that environment. And
Yeah.
so that really resonated a lot with everybody on the team. So, but there was
Well,
lots of good things.
yeah, and I know his message and I know that story, and I'm just like, I just love coffee, so why not? Be the coffee. That's what I
Right?
say.
Exactly. Who doesn't like coffee? Yeah. Yeah.
That's a very cool story. Okay,
Yeah.
so all right, do you have any, so what do you see for the future for your team?
I'm excited for the team. The market conditions over the last few years, in my opinion, have not been very good. Right. So, what is one of the favorite sayings of one of those gentlemen that we were talking about is, even a turkey can fly in a hurricane.
Yeah.
Um, it's been really unhealthy, right?
Yeah.
Because you don't get a chance to really be the professional that we are in this industry, and because you were just moving at light speed and you just had to show the house and write the offer and guide and counsel your buyers as best you can, and try to be the winning bid. And as a listing agent, you're trying to help the seller figure out which of the 50 offers they should take.
Oh man, I'm sorry, pardon my language. It was hellacious.
Yeah, it was awful. It was
Yeah.
awful. And so I'm really excited about the change in the market, honestly. We're starting to see things normalize. Our inventory is up by about 50% and getting closer to where it should be
Yeah.
this time of year. And that all contributes to a little bit slower pace and a little bit more reasonable expectations on both sides, and the ability to really be a coach and an advocate and a counselor to your clients, and provide, um, oh, there we go.
There you
Provide,
go. There
there
you
we
go.
go.
Thanks, Susan.
Susan. So,
Susan's
yeah,
a refiner by nature, so I know if there's a boo-boo somewhere, Susan will find it,
I
and I
love
love
it.
her for it.
I love it.
All
Yeah,
right,
so
Susan.
I think, there's going to be challenges ahead in the market. There's always challenges in our market. And so just staying positive and staying focused on the things that you can control. Um, and, and always putting the customer first and doing what's right by the customer. And,
Yeah.
we'll be fine.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Susan, the sound's going to be a little bit off because Carmen and I were having a little bit of technical difficulties with her office and zooming her in. So it's going to be a little bit iffy, but turn up the sound. We're good. Carmen's good. But thanks, Susan. I appreciate it. So if somebody looking, okay, 2 questions. Someone on the outside looking in, they're going to say, wow, Carmen's got a great team, right? And you are a phenomenal leader, inside and outside, like outside the screen, behind the curtain, you're a phenomenal leader. What are your challenges on the inside, like behind the curtain, that people don't see? Do you want to share any? Because being a team leader is not easy. Being a realtor is not easy, but on top of that, now you're a team leader.
Yeah, well, that's a huge question.
Yeah.
Like anything, trying to help everybody manage the fear, right? So when things are changing, the market's changing, the rules have changed, right? Recently, we all know about that. The, you know, potentially we might have a change in leadership for our country. We don't know, right? I mean, we will have a change, whether it's one side or the other, but it's definitely a change from our current leadership, right? So we will have
Right. And that shift could be huge.
Yeah, it will not be Joe Biden. We all know that. So
right.
It will be one of 2
Yeah.
people. And so that's change. And so almost every person struggles with fear. And so how do you help your team not be afraid and focus on the positives and focus on the good things? And so you have to do that yourself, right? You have to be fearless as a leader, and you have to focus on the good things as a leader, and then you have to share those things that
Right.
That work. So
yes, and so I want to. So yes, thank you for the birthday. Yes, Carmen, as the CEO, the first and foremost, you need to deal with your own fear or your own challenges or your own crap, right?
Yep.
But then now you've got to look at your team. You got to look at your realtors and your admin and your marketing specialists and how are they handling everything.
Right.
So it's not just handling your own fear, because yes, we all have fear of something. That's just those voices in our head. And I don't know anybody on earth who walks this earth that doesn't have some sort of voice in their head that doesn't serve them well, right? Yeah. So now you've got to manage your team as a leader as well and be strong for them.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I think and with that is really listening, right? Listening to what's being said and listening to what's not being said, and pay attention to those verbal and nonverbal cues, and really seek to understand first. First seek to understand, and then try to be understood, but always seek to understand first.
Yeah.
And good systems in place to help alleviate as many mistakes as you can. And you're never going to be 100% perfect. That's not realistic. But if you can put good systems in place, and you're going to really seek input from your people, what works will help you to be successful. And sometimes you have to be directive and say, no, I want to do it this way because I've got 21 years experience and I've tried it that way before and it didn't work, and here's why. So just please trust me. We got to go this way instead. That's hard sometimes because I don't like to be directive, but I am. So yeah. Let control freak me, occasionally.
So okay, so Karen, hi, thanks for hopping in. If I were to talk to Emerson and I could say, hey, what's your team leader Carmen's best attribute? What do you think he would say?
I don't know. I mean, I think the whole team benefits from my years of experience, honestly. I mean, you can't train that in a 6-week training program, or even a 6-month training program, or even a year-long training program, right?
Yeah.
So I think having the experience and having the previous, the battle wounds, the scars, having the experience and be able to say, oh, whoa, careful, there's danger ahead, go the other way, and be able to prevent that, I think, is probably one of the biggest things I bring to the team, is saving them all that heartache and kind of accelerating through their learning as much as I can help them accelerate.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. All right. So I am just enamored by your social media, right? So I know you have somebody who does your social media, and she does a phenomenal job. And so I want to do a shout out for her. And please, if she wants any of her contact information out there, Carmen, come back after all of this posts on Facebook, and you can put it there if she wants to. But she is phenomenal. She holds a special place in my heart too. And she captures the moments, like your party. So this was leading to, I'm thinking, why was I bringing her up? I'm bringing her up because you have such amazing parties. So what is your favorite party that you run? Because you have a lot of them. What's your favorite one?
Gosh, for me, anytime we can get face-to-face with our clients, it's a win. So I am pretty heavy on the parties. My team probably wishes I wasn't as heavy. And it's not just the parties. We do educational seminars.
Yeah, I saw you have a workshop coming up, right? I think I saw it yesterday on Facebook.
Yeah, we have 3 actually coming up in the next 6 weeks. So one of the messages that Jesse, my marketing manager, and I have been trying to relate to the team for years, and finally have the right team in place that gets it and embraces it, and not only that, but supports it, comes up with their own creative ideas. BJ is really good at the creativity as well. Is how do you get people to know you, like you, and trust you?
Trust you. Yep.
And through the social media platforms, or just in general, right? But the social media part's really hard, because that's where you have your biggest reach, right? If you're sitting next to somebody at a restaurant or at a bar and you're striking up a conversation, you have a couple hours sometimes to demonstrate who you are and get them to know you, like you, and trust you through just sharing with one another, right? Or when you're out in a car with somebody and you're showing them houses, like you give the opportunity to build that relationship, to build that trust. But how do you do it in 60 seconds or less, right? In social media, or even 2 minutes or less, right?
Yep.
So the parties and the workshops are really key for me, because I really want to dive deeper. So we can do the know, like, and trust through social media, and that's by bringing in things like humor. So we have the Pinnacle punchline. We tell stupid jokes and make people laugh. That's fun, and people like that. That's where we can get the like. We also share kind of our favorite things, and we're sharing favorite things about our community. So we're helping people that are new, especially to our community, introduce them to some of the really cool things about the Pikes Peak region. And at the same time, they're getting to know us because they see what we like to do. And then there's some commonality there, right? Oh, I like to hike, or I like dogs, or I like whatever, right?
Right.
And so we do that. And then in terms of the trust, we try to do a Pinnacle pointer. And that's where we're doing, we might be out in the field and say, oh, hey, here's a radon mitigation system. What is it? Why do you care? Why does it matter? Or here's a lift station, or here's a Federal Pacific electrical panel, or here's a type of roofing that can be problematic, or a type of plumbing that can be problematic. So those are kind of boring, but they're very quick, like little posts. Or now we're doing videos, partnering with insurance agents and people who do specialize in assumptions, and doing videos on how to navigate those waters. So demonstrate our knowledge and our relationship building there. And so those are all things that we do online. But then to take that to a deeper level is the client parties, right?
Yep.
And so we want parties to say thank you to our folks that have trusted us to help them with their real estate, who have referred people, or maybe they have done both, right? And so there's the client appreciation party. So we try to do a couple of those a year. The summer one, I sort of stumbled upon it last year, and we did it last year. It was a big success. There's a Colorado Disc Dogs is a nonprofit organization that they compete with the frisbee throwing dogs, and it's a lot of fun to watch. And we just got some breakfast burritos from a really cool food truck and took that and some beverages and fruit, and everyone brought their own lawn chair, and we just hung out at a park, a really beautiful park on a beautiful late summer morning, and watched these dogs perform. It was a ton of fun. That party didn't cost me hardly anything, right?
Yeah.
It was a really affordable party. Our biggest one, though, for a client appreciation party is the reverse pie party. So
Right.
I hire a barista. She's awesome. She comes in, and for a couple hours, she makes lattes and espressos and cappuccinos and hot chocolates, and we have cookies and snacks and things like that. And everybody walks away with a pie from Costco, either pumpkin or apple. And then we do gift wrap from the dollar store, and we wrap them in rolls of 2 with a little bow and also some tags, you know, the
Yep.
little gift tags.
Yep.
So they leave with a pie and some wrapping paper. That's a fun one, and they've gotten all jacked up on caffeine. They're cursing at us in the evening when they can't go to sleep. So
oh my gosh, I had a latte this morning. So I've been at a detox juice place for 2 weeks, and I went and got coffee this morning for my birthday. Oh my gosh, I am on a happy high all day.
That's awesome. Yeah, so it's a lot of fun. We used to do a Santa party, but then COVID hit, and so the Santa, I hired the Santa Claus to come into the office, and the kids and parents and grandparents came, and Santa spends 2 hours singing songs and telling stories, and it's a ton of fun. The very first time I did it, I got the guy off of the internet. 10 minutes before the party, I had a panic attack. I was like, oh my gosh, what if he's a pedophile? What if he shows up drunk? What was I thinking? But he was great, and everybody loved him. Well, then COVID hit, and of course we couldn't do that. But I didn't want to not do something for the kids. So my husband and I decorated our outside patio, bought a second fake Christmas tree and everything, decorated it. Santa came over, and he sat across from the patio outside, and Jessie, my marketing manager, she filmed Santa, and I held up cue cards with the kids' names. So he would say, ho, 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 Merry Christmas, Tanya, ho, 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 Merry Christmas, whoever. And so we went through all the kids' names, and then she filmed him telling a story and kind of just doing the Santa thing. And then she edited those videos, and we sent them to the parents. So every parent had, their kids had a customized video from Santa to their kid. And so we haven't changed that. We're just doing that now every year because
Yep.
it's been such a big hit. And
That is so cool, and I love how you guys do that. And I'm just gonna say hi to Charlotte. Hey Charlotte, I have a funny story. I don't want to interrupt Carmen, but I will swing back around about a movie night. But keep going. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. And then we do the educational videos. So
Yeah.
The first one is the preparing your home for winter. And that's really designed for first-time home buyers that we help them buy a house and they've never had to worry about winterizing their home, right? Because they didn't own one, or people who moved here from a warm climate who they've not had the challenges of owning a home in a winter climate.
Yep.
So
that's the one I saw on Facebook.
So that one's on the 19th, and then the week after that, we're doing an Are You Covered seminar where people are coming in, experts that I'm business relationships that we have, just talking about estate planning and do you have the right homeowners insurance and car insurance and life insurance and all those things. And then on October 5th, we're doing a seniors resources lunch and learn. And we're targeting seniors. So how can they stay in their home for longer, or when it's time to vote, what are the resources there? So
very
we have
cool.
a few months ahead of us because we've got those seminars and the pie party, and then we're done for a while.
Well, it's a lot, right? Like I said, this industry is a lot of hard work, and why you're so successful is because you're out there. I mean, you're out in the community, you're offering workshops, you have fun parties for your clients, right? And future clients will see that, on social media.
Right.
But there is no doubt how you're out and impacting your own community.
Well, we do the pop-bys, right? And
sure.
I still suck at the notes.
That's okay. Considering how many parties you have a year, I think you're off the hook.
Yeah. No, I'm trying to get better at that because those are really powerful. The cheap, powerful resource tools to use, right?
Yeah. So. And I think I even forget sometimes the power of a note. So I've been at this retreat. I don't want to say it's a detox spa because it is not a spa, although the massages were amazing. But it's more like a clinic because it is hard to, juice for 3 days and only eat raw and all the things and drink. Fermented quinoa was that was the hardest thing for me. It is like I would drink it and I'd go after every sip. It is awful.
Ugh.
Anyway, there was one gal there. Her name is Maria Conchita, and she is apparently, I did not know this until a few days after spending a lot of time with her. She's a two-time Grammy winner for rock music in Mexico.
Oh, wow.
A super cool lady. In fact, she's going to be singing with the Houston Symphony this month. We spent a lot of time together. You do wheatgrass wraps, so we were part of the rap club, the two of us, and we
Oh,
were
fun.
rapping each other's aches and pains. Anyway, when I left, I wrote her a note and I left it at her room. I didn't want to bug her in case she was doing one of the meditations we're supposed to do, but I left it, and then the very next day I get this heartfelt, like I'm in tears email over the note I left her. So, I'll
That's
probably
neat.
never see her again.
Well, good job. That's
But
awesome.
yes, I wrote a note. So there you go.
Love it.
Yeah,
Nice.
so everybody here needs to write a note. One
That's right.
note to somebody, and just thank
What
them
I,
for the time that they spent with you or how they impacted you.
one thing
That's my
that,
birthday wish.
yeah, yeah. One thing that worked for me is taking like an afternoon and or morning going to a coffee shop. And
Yeah.
that's all I do is write the notes. Just spend 2 hours writing notes and then
Yeah.
I'm done.
Yeah.
So versus trying to
That
do it
works.
on the fly, I don't know why. You think it'd be
It's
easier to do a note or two a day instead of trying to do 30 in an afternoon or a morning. But, yeah.
Oh, I mean, if it works for you to go sit somewhere quiet for a couple hours, I'm not going to criticize that, right? I don't want you criticizing yourself either. Look at all the things that you do.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. We are at we're more than a half an hour. We're at almost 40 minutes. If anybody has any questions for Carmen or me, but for Carmen around being a team leader and what's it like to be a team leader. I know I met somebody. So if you post your questions, I'm going to watch. I met somebody at this retreat and he's, the two of us, he lives in Colorado Springs, and the two of us have a promise that next year we're coming to your area to paddleboard.
Nice.
So, yeah,
Awesome.
I keep saying I want to come to your area. I really, really do. There's two
I,
places I really want to visit: Colorado Springs. It's been years since I've been there, and Puget Sound. It's been years since I've been there.
there's a lot
So,
of things to do here. It's a lot of fun.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It is a lot of fun. Thank you, Charlotte, for coming in, and everybody else. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Any last parting words of wisdom? I didn't ask you intentionally about NAR, but if there's any challenges you think anybody needs to hear and you want to state that, it seems like it's something,
No, I don't mind talking about it
yeah.
because it's, we're all dealing with it, right? But so we're a little bit different. Colorado is one of 16 states in the country where it's always been in our paperwork. So we've always had a buyer agency
Mm-hmm.
contract and we've had the listing contract for the sellers. And in both, since I've been in real estate 21 years, we've always had the option. In the buyer's agent, for example, one option was that the buyer will pay us.
Right.
Another option was they pay us retainer fee. Another option was, you know, an hourly rate. Should charge the hourly rate. I've been retired by now, but so that's always been an option. And then with the seller, it's always been an option to pay the agent that brings the buyer or not. And so for us, it's not a huge change there. The only thing that really is different for us is the compensation is no longer posted. It can no longer be posted in the MLS. So when we show
Right.
a house, we don't know if we're going to get paid or not, right? Unless the
Right.
buyer agrees up front to pay us. And so far, we haven't had a lot of pushback from buyers who, are concerned about paying us. Did we lose you, Tanya? I think we lost Tanya. There you
Oh,
are.
now you're back. Okay.
We lost you. I was here all by myself. So we haven't had a whole lot of pushback, and then the few contracts we've negotiated so far, the seller has been agreeable in our contracts to pay the buyer's agent. So I don't know that it's going to be as big of a deal as everyone thought it was going to be. And,
Mm-hmm.
and here's what I told my team. Like we were just talking about the market conditions over the last few years, right? So the market conditions over the last few years were such that when you sat down with the buyer, you'd say, did you talk to a lender? Yep. How much are you going to put down? Let's just use 20%. Great. Did the lender talk to you about your closing costs, right? So your prepaids and your closing costs, and that runs about maybe 2% of your purchase price, right? Okay, so you have that money to do that. Yep. And then the conversation went like this. The market's really tight. There's no inventory. There's a lot of competition. And so the winning bids have typically been able to offer first an escalation clause. And what is that? Well, if the list price is 500,000, you have to escalate to 550 to be the winning bid. And then on top of that, you'll have to be willing and able to do what's called an appraisal gap. And what is that? Well, if we end up at 550 and it only appraises at 500, you have to come up with $50,000 in cash to bridge the gap.
Right.
That's the conversation for the last several years, right?
Yep.
We would go show an average of 8 houses before we would actually get the winning bid. So the same thing was true. You'd show a house, you're not sure you're going to get paid or not. In fact, pretty much knew that it might take you a few houses to show before you would get paid representing the buyer, just because it was so competitive. And so now you don't have to have that conversation anymore about the appraisal gap and escalation clauses as much. I think there's a couple still happening here and there, but it's really calmed way down to where we don't have that. So then the conversation shifts to, hey, if the seller's not willing to pay me, are you? And can you? Right? So you don't have to worry about, and the appraisal gaps were pretty much running right around 10% pretty consistently. And so in our average sales price here is in the mid 500s. So people were able somehow to come up with $55,000 for an appraisal gap that they would have to use just to get into the house that they wanted.
Yep.
So it's an improvement for them, right? So yeah, so that's kind of been how we've been handling it. And so for us, it's not been a huge change because it's always been very clear in our paperwork. The conversation's always been there. Who's going to pay, right? What do you want to pay and how much, right?
Right. And you've been very lucky having it that way. Not all states have it that way, but I do see now, in fact, I have one client, phenomenal real estate agent, in Phoenix, where she now charges per hour to show homes, and no one has balked about it. And it's amazing how many homes they no longer want to see once they figured out I mean, seriously, it's like, oh, we don't need to go see that one. It's like, well, why did you want to see it in the first place?
Right. And there's definitely some truth to that, right?
Yeah.
And some of the other things that happens, I don't know if this happens up in your world, but when you sit down with a buyer and you say, hey, if you want to look at a building brand new, please don't go to the builder without me.
Right.
Because in the last few years, oftentimes if your buyer went to the builder without you, the builder wouldn't pay you.
In California, you have to literally be there.
Yeah. And so now the conversation is a little bit different. Hey, if you go to the builder without me, I will not be able to negotiate them paying me, so you will have to pay me because I don't work for free. I'm sorry, right? That's not a realistic expectation of anybody to work for free. How much you pay me is negotiable. We can talk through that, but I'm not working for free. Nobody works for free. I can't because it negates our errors and omissions insurance. So as much as I'd like to volunteer, I can't.
See, I wouldn't even say I want to volunteer. I'm like, when you want to volunteer at your job, then I'll consider volunteering at my profession.
I want to volunteer in other places, the food bank.
Right. But that's a great point with new construction. And so, I mean, we can, in the beginning, it was scary. And I could see the fear. If I was full-time real estate agent, I'd be a little bit wonky about it too. However, as things have calmed down and we're actually now doing it, it's okay. I mean, I still think there's some things to work through, but we're going to be okay.
Well, but there's some other positives, right? For us anyway, we had to share the disclosure of the different types of relationships you can have with an agent in Colorado, but the Division of Real Estate didn't require the buyer to sign that form, and we could still show our listings. Now a signature is required, and so that changes the dynamics a little bit. So, if you're spending time with your family on a Sunday afternoon and somebody calls and says they want to see your listing, and now you don't have to jump through that hoop and go meet them right away. You can say, you know what, the rules have changed. I need to have you sign some paperwork before I show you my listing. So can we meet at the office tomorrow, Monday, and we'll go through the paperwork and then we'll schedule time to show you my listing, right? So I think it helps create a more professional environment, right?
Absolutely.
don't go get a root canal until the doctor gives you a consultation on it. I mean,
No, I know. And that's a newbie. And I was talking with a client not too long ago about this. Newbies do this, right? Newbies will jump. Hey, need to see a home in the next 5 minutes. And all of a sudden you jump and do it. I'm like, that's a newbie thing.
well, it's also a
That,
people pleaser thing,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's a people pleaser thing. We want to please our sellers and work really hard for them,
Of
but we also have an
course.
obligation to protect them. And then, it's Realtor Safety Awareness Month. And
Yep.
so that's another, if the buyer's not willing to meet you at the office and sit down and have a face-to-face conversation with you and complete the proper paperwork, then maybe they're not the best person to be meeting at one of your listings, especially if it's vacant or a vacant piece of land or whatever.
Oh gosh, I hope realtors don't do that. I
Yeah.
really do. I mean, when I was working full time as a real estate agent, yes, we'd meet at the office or Starbucks, but I liked the office because then I would say, "Hey, what before we go out, and the office required this. This wasn't my thing. It was the
Right.
office
A
required a
copy.
copy of their driver's license."
Yep. Yep.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had some weird things happen to me. One time was the weirdest thing. I met a buyer at one of my vacant listings in the middle of the weekday, and everybody was at work. And I had this weird feeling about it, so I asked my assistant to bring her husband and pretend like he was our maintenance guy there to look at the furnace. Thank goodness I did.
Thank
When I
goodness.
the guy was really strange, and I knew immediately I was in trouble, but I couldn't run because there was nobody at home. And so I
Right.
knew that he and her husband were on their way. And so before we went in to look at, I was stalling. I was standing in the driveway stalling. He would look me in the eyes. He's like, "Well, can we go look in the house?" And I'm like, "Sure." He's like, "Okay, just a minute." And he gets into the backseat of his car and he gets out gardening gloves and he puts gardening gloves on before we go into the house.
Wow.
And it was really creepy. I was able to fake my way through it, pretended like I was a klutz, which isn't hard for me to pretend. And I tripped into the door so I could just get away from him. I'm like, "Oh, I'm such a klutz." And I tripped up the stairs, and it was, and because Debbie and my assistant, her husband were running late getting there, I was like, "Oh, great." And so, and as soon as they showed up, he left. He never did look me in the eye. We were upstairs, and he's like, "Well, I don't think this is the house for me, but can we look at the basement anyway?" And I was like, "Oh gosh." And so as soon as we got down to the basement, my assistant showed up, but that was terrifying, and it's real. And so that wouldn't have happened had he had a
It's a sign an agreement first.
Yeah, an opportunity to meet at the office first. He never would have met me in the office. And so then I can say, well, then I'm sorry, but no commission check, sorry, compensation check is worth is that's going to take some training. Can we just call it
compensation or fee?
Yeah, and then maybe we won't be taxed on our gratuity next year. Tax-free compensation, yay! Realtors work for tips.
Man, Carmen, if there's a will, there's a way. Especially for us free spirits, right?
You gotta find the humor, right? You gotta find the humor. So.
You gotta find the humor, yeah. And some of us aren't that strict of rule followers. I'm gonna make sure my accountant spins it any way I can possibly make them spin it.
Exactly. I just focusing on the positive of what we're dealing with, and then also Jesse, my marketing manager, and I are working on a PowerPoint presentation that's similar to the one that we have for listings. Right? When you sit down with the seller, we have a PowerPoint presentation that we go through with them along with all the other marketing material. We haven't done that with buyers. Why not?
Right. But it's necessary. Yeah.
Yeah. So now that's pushing us to really be able to share and demonstrate our value in that role as well. Yeah. Right? We don't just open doors, right? There's a whole lot more to that role.
Oh, heck no. Yeah. Yeah. So so I want to make sure that everyone needs to have something like what you're creating with Jesse to showcase their own superpowers, because we all have our own superpowers and the reasons, like the 20 reasons you need a realtor. Do you remember months ago it came out, it was all over social media, the 100 reasons why you need a realtor? Well, that's a little overwhelming to sit there and read 100, but I know there's at least 20, right, that we could whittle it down to. But yeah, you do a whole lot more than open doors. That is, if anybody thinks that, they need a reality check fast.
Yep. And so getting that message out and succinctly is the challenge, right?
Yeah.
So, but we can do it. I know we can.
Yeah, I know you can. And and also this is something that's across the board. It's not like one brokerage is picking on you. Like this is just a Keller Williams thing, or it's just a California thing. Everybody across the board has to do this, and it's a level playing field now.
Yep.
And that's a positive too. It's like everybody needs to do this. So it's not like somebody's going to get away with it. If they do try to get away with it, they're going to get caught, right? They're going to get fined or they're going to get their license taken away. So it's not like somebody could say, no, no, thank you, Carmen. I'll go find another realtor. Like with our compensation, if you know, it's like if you're gonna if your compensation is 3%, somebody can say, well, I'll go find somebody who's 2. Okay, fine. But this is not something you can just say, okay, go find another realtor. They better not be doing it. You know, they better be having you sign everything.
Yeah, and we're not supposed to talk percentages because that's an
I
antitrust.
I, I said it, you didn't.
Yeah, yeah, that's okay. I'm such a rule follower. You're the free spirit. Here we go.
Okay, so I'm gonna go off topic for a minute because this is the funniest thing ever. Because as you know, and anybody here that knows me knows that I am not the best rule follower. I mean, I'm not gonna go land in jail or do anything to hurt anybody, but following rules is not my superpower, right? So I'm at this retreat. And one day I come downstairs about a half an hour before dinner, and there's beautiful green lawn with all these lounge chairs, and everyone's, you know, obviously it's half an hour before dinner, and we're hungry, even though I'm still doing it, green juice. And so we're sitting there, and all of a sudden the world starts to spin,
Ooh.
and I'm really dizzy. I I feel really like my head is weird. I have no energy to stand up. And I was talking to one of the patrons there. He says, Tanya, are you okay? You're really pale. And I'm like, no, I'm not okay. I'm really dizzy and I can't stand up. And, you know, it's like that commercial. And I'm just like, I am not okay. And another guy comes running over and he's like, are you okay? I'm like, no. And then, so the first gentleman goes, I'll go to my room and I'll get you some chocolate. I'm like, what? Like, I didn't bring a stash of food, right? And the
Right.
other guy says, it's okay. I've got some dried mango in my room. I'm like, oh my God, anybody got pizza? I mean, I did not have a stash in my room, you know, at all. And so anyway, the person on staff went and got me a grapefruit, and I ate a half a grapefruit, and I was fine. But
Wow.
yeah, I mean, there are bigger non-rule followers than me out there. When you go to a detox retreat and you bring chocolate,
That's
it was
fun.
fun. Yeah, it was funny. It was an interesting experience. It's the second time I've done it, so I knew what I was getting into, and I still chose to do it.
Yeah.
All right, Miss Carmen, we are at almost an hour, so I am going to say bye and thank you to everybody.
Thanks,
And thank
everybody.
you. If you have any questions or want to reach out, please find Carmen. She'll be
Yep.
in this, all will go recorded on Facebook and YouTube. And yes, if Jesse's, you know, interested in, you know, my plug her stuff in there, okay?
I will. You know what's funny is how many hours she's working just for me, and so I don't know if she's got the bandwidth or not, but I'll definitely do that. So
Yeah,
yeah,
well, if she's not interested, don't put anything in there. But if she's interested,
yeah.
she's getting a plug that I highly recommend. You know,
Thank
put
you.
my name to it, kind of thing.
I'll let her know.